how do we install YAB? Like anything else from Haiku Depot. Right, so you fire up Haiku Depot, give it a few seconds to update the repositories, do a search for YAB. Right, and as you can see, I've got all repositories, all categories. Right, so here we have YAB itself. Now that only gets you the program. That is what we use as a dependency. This is actually all you need to run YAB programs. However, you really also want the documentation. As you can see, I've already got it loaded and it'll show up here. YAB documentation, right? So you can see quite a bit. There's help in German and in English. And you find some other, you've got the bsly YAB documentation. If you run that, again, you've got it in German and in English. And you want this because if you start writing, you will find that you get a comma out of place, your program won't run. And then you can go to the documentation and you can say, what did I do wrong? Right, so in the last example I made, this little 2-line program, I actually made a mistake. I had to go and see, what did I do wrong here? What is the actual there? And oh, right, got these two mixed up. So that's going to happen. You know, these things can get quite long. And so you want documentation. Really, if you want to do more than just run YAB programs, if you actually want to write them, then get the documentation. You want the IDE, okay, the Integrated Development Environment. Now in this course, we're not going to use that for quite a long time. I am going to present this using StyledEdit and Terminal. Because, well, firstly because I'm old school. Secondly because I can make this text nice and big and a bit easier for you to read when you're looking at a YouTube video. But it's a bit of a geek thing, I think. You should be able to write a program with a text editor and test it in a terminal. Because otherwise, you're not programming the computer's programming you. Once you can do that, you can use an IDE, you can use helper programs, because you'll have an idea of what's happening behind the scenes. Right, so we're going to install this one. The other reason why we want the IDE is because it gives us examples. We should now see home. No, not yet. Right? We're going to also install the build factory. Now that is when you've written your program, but it's still in source code. And people can run it from terminal. They can even run it like a script. But you want to compile it. This is not true compilation. It's sort of a semi-compilation. We'll get there. Right, but now we should have there's the YAB documentation. All right, so if we now look here, in your home directory there is now YAB work. And where are the examples? Language, parts, compress. Let's see. Okay, the active. Alright, I'm going to have to find the example programs for you. We will have a look at that in a later episode, because I should be there. Okay, I found them. There are example programs right here. You see that deep in your boot system directory. I want to have those a little bit more accessible. So I am going to create a link to YAB work. Right, so now they should be, there we go. Right, so you can see these examples, and we will be referring to these, but I'm just going to show you this one. All right. Let's copy that to the desktop. And file type, source code. Let's just make that the same as this one. Have I got make it writable and executable. There we go. Let's just close things down. So this all-in-one YAB shows us pretty much everything that YAB can do, and all the different widgets and things that are available here. Right, this program doesn't actually do anything. It's just a showcase of what is all available. Right? So, oh, by the way, you'll see this Team Maui occasionally. That's an old historical reference. When they first started creating YAB, they called themselves that because the next version of BOS was supposed to be called Maui. And they sort of created this to be ready for that. And it's just sort of still in there. Don't worry about it. Okay, so those are the examples, and that's why you want to have the full setup, the full complement of YAB, the YAB documentation, the IDE, and the build factory. And we will use all of that eventually. But until then, there's a lot we are going to do, probably for the next year, maybe longer. Just going through the various YAB commands.